Everybody, welcome to another episode of The Cynical Marketers, episode 65. We are in season 2, episode 13.
Yeah.
So already we're at the end of the first quarter of the year already, believe it or not.
Crazy.
Yeah. Goes so fast. So one quarter down. So here we go. Let's get into the episode already this week, because I know all of our fan is
All of our fan.
dying to know what we're going to talk about. You know, everyone's like, oh, what are the cynical marketers going to talk about this week? I need to know.
Yeah. Highlands.
Yeah. Chappell Roan. What? Modern? Pop culture? Yes.
We're being brave.
I know. Shaking it up here. But there's a business twist to it because, you know, of course there is.
Yeah.
But Chappell Roan, if Lance, if you're not sure who that is a, you know, a pop culture star. Been huge for the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah, I would say so.
Big album. Like, was huge here in Chicago, like at Lala last year.
Yeah.
You know, her set at Lala went over huge. I know. And yeah, I like her music, so I know who she is. I know I'm an old guy, but I'm aware, you know, of who she is and kind of what her thing is. And why she's in the news again lately is, and this is the business aspect to it, because our view of her is the face of her brand.
Yeah.
And she's got a PR issue going on right now because she had an issue down in South America, Brazil, I believe. She was down there for a festival and was in a hotel eating breakfast or something. And a little kid, I think, was eyeballing her, which, if you're familiar with Chappell Roan, she doesn't like that.
Yeah.
And she's famous for setting boundaries, is what all her fans say.
Yeah.
So she had her security guard go after this young lady, 11-year-old, and made the girl cry. Turns out the girl's famous, or at least the child of famous people.
Yeah.
So where before Chappell, I guess, goes after people and everyone's like, yeah, yes, queen, you powerful boss bitch, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And she's setting boundaries and misusing, right? Everyone misuses that therapy speak again.
Yep.
But now she did it to someone who's connected to media themselves, and the child's mother, who is married too, so that she is it's messy-ish, right, in celebrity stuff, but
Yeah.
Jude Law's daughter, but obviously the mom of this girl's not with Jude Law anymore. Now she is with Brazil's most famous soccer player. So then he is the stepdad of this young girl. So this woman, the mom, has an Instagram following. She put the story out on Instagram, and of course it blew up. And this one is blowing up in Chappell Roan's face. And she came out a couple of days ago now with her own, laying down in bed, if you saw this, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
I thought you had some media training. Her apology wasn't necessarily an apology, really. And then she's laying in bed doing it. So it's like, oh, you can't even really be bothered. Like, oh,
Yeah.
man, who is coaching you? And I know if you're out there, you're like, who? And you're not. But if you were, and you were watching this video, you're like, who are you guys? And like, well, I have done this. I've been part of huge stories.
Oh, yeah.
So I have been in media spotlight, and not even necessarily me, because I have been me, but
Yeah.
brands I've worked for where I am responsible for the messaging then have been in like media firestorm. So I've dealt with firestorm. Certainly not on the celebrity level of someone like Chappell Roan or, you know, that for sure. But man, it doesn't matter. If you have ever been caught in an internet storm, it doesn't matter how famous or not famous you are. It feels like a hurricane, no matter what, no matter who knows you or doesn't. It doesn't take much for the weight of the world to crash down on you, it feels like. So,
Yeah.
you know, and again, our view on this, we were talking about this from a business perspective, because this type of thing can happen to anyone. You don't think. And this has caught Chappell Roan and her team by surprise, because normally when she does this, and she just did this at the Grammys, I think, right? She yelled at somebody at the Grammys, and then she yelled at somebody else at Paris Fashion Week recently too, because she was at Fashion Week, and she was yelling at photographers and stuff. Right. Normally she's praised for that.
Right.
Then you do the same thing, and the next day it's like, now you're not. So I'm sure her team's like, what?
What are we doing?
We're heroes. Wait. Why are you guys mad at us? What do we do now? Right? So there's the business aspect to this, because this can happen to anybody.
It's really
and if
interesting.
you're out there, you don't know. And with social media today, you don't control your story either.
Yep.
You could have a customer go viral about you in an instant.
Yep. It's really interesting. And we've talked about like this idea of how do you handle customer feedback, right? So this is really it in a sense, because like you said, Mike, she is very often praised for her very aggressive stance against kind of invasive paparazzi style fans jumping on a famous person, which I never, by the way, never understood, never have done it, right?
Right.
There's a lot of like celebrities that I've stood in line to meet and, you know, get a signature from or whatever, get an autograph from, and like, you know, always thought it was weird when people like are so aggressively in somebody's space, right? So I understand her stance on it. I don't necessarily see it. I would see it as setting boundaries if she was slightly quieter about it, but then again, like not judging, you know, this kind of goes into like judging women on how they handle that whole thing. But it's for her, what's interesting is you are your brand, right?
Yeah.
So the people that your success depends on are these fans, right? So much like any business, your success of your business depends on the point of view that your clients have about you, right? Like that determines whether they refer you to people, whether like, you know, whether you're going to tell somebody to go listen to her music if you just don't feel like she's a good human being, like regardless of her art, right?
Right.
It was really interesting to see, like you had mentioned this and I didn't know anything about it, right? Like it just, I've seen comments online and I didn't know what they were about and I didn't care to look it up because Threads for the last like 2 days has been filled with like memes about her, right? Like and how she treats her fans and different things like that. But my understanding
once
is
that happens to you, man, you are in
like
trouble.
there is no coming back. So like, yeah, you know, much respect for wanting to set your boundaries or whatever you like want to call it in therapy speak, right? Like, yeah, you want to have some personal space, but also your success depends on these people and how you treat them. And when you send your security to yell at an 11-year-old, like, you have to, you know, you have to have some lines. Like you got to treat adult fans differently than you would treat children, right? Like, because I feel like the moment you touch the kid thing and you disrespect the kid who is a fan, because you see artist after artist after artist post online about how they treat children at their shows, at the interviews, at, you know, like you see these really, really like heartwarming moments and people that you would never even be a fan of, you'd be like, oh, that was sweet. Like, okay, that's a good person, right? She's sending her security to yell at an 11-year-old. Nothing good can come of this. And it just so happened to be a very famous 11-year-old, right?
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that. Like, how would I would never know who Jude Law's daughter is, right? Like, so she probably doesn't know either. Like, it's very likely that you wouldn't know, but that's still a child. You're sending your security to address. Like, what is your brand here? You know, it's like businesses who actively fight with people online, and we've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Like, when they'll engage in comments and they'll talk like very aggressively back at people, and you're like, that's your, okay, even if that particular person is not your customer, it's not your client, it's not your fan base, whatever your brand is, other people are going to publicly see this. And what is the perception then of your brand? Terrifying.
Everybody wants to be the Wendy's Twitter.
Oh, that is even. Wendy's on Threads is not doing so well, but that's besides the point.
I know, right?
I digress.
Now it's funny because I haven't fought with the Wendy's Twitter, but like I have said stuff to them because it's like everyone's like, oh, they're so brave and funny as the Wendy's Twitter. I'm like, well, sometimes, but not when anything bad happens to the brand. Then that Twitter account will run and hide.
And that's what's happening
Wendy's
on Threads to them right now.
They're shutting down hundreds of restaurants this year. And of course, hey, where's that smart ass Twitter account of yours now? People are getting laid off and losing jobs. Where's that super funny Twitter account? You know, got any jokes? Got any jokes? Got any smoke for some other brand? Wendy's? No? Oh, it's only funny sometimes, right?
And you have to walk a fine line. But this is the thing, Mike, like you have to walk a fine line. You have to understand that, like, for example, for Chappell Roan, like that, your success depends on your fans. And so if you're going to go and send your security to yell at a literal child, right? If you're the women that are supporting you are like young, maybe young women, 20s, 30s, but even women in my age, right, are like, yeah, like empowering and setting boundaries and doing, like standing on business kind of thing, until you yell at a child, because half of us are moms and we're going to be like, wait, what are you doing? Like, that is not okay. It doesn't matter whose child that is, right? And so then you take somebody it takes one post about your brand, right? Like it takes one, the internet is going to take where the internet takes it, and you have no control over it. And now your entire brand is compromised.
And this is my thing I'm like, well, look, you live by the sword, you die by the sword then, right? Like you've had this bad bitch attitude, like,
right.
I don't know, and I did it to the wrong person. I would think, and I saw someone make this comment online, yeah, you didn't know who that 11-year-old kid was. Okay, right. First of all, doesn't matter. You didn't know. Still a kid.
That's what I'm saying. It's a child. You yelled at a literal child.
But you have no context clues anyway. Apparently, she was in a very swanky hotel down in Brazil. Because if you're in Brazil, you're going to have to stay somewhere safe with security anyway. Right? So apparently she's in a swanky hotel. There's a child in this hotel. They are probably somebody. Or connected to a somebody. Right. Unless you're so out of touch, you just think this kind of stuff, these hotels and everything, is all normal.
Yeah, average people, yeah.
And average people do this stuff too? Which apparently probably is, because apparently she grew up very rich. Yeah. Her grandpa is a very wealthy guy and blah, 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 right? But this is the problem. When you try to act like this and you want to have this persona and this brand of being tough. Right. People will like it. And it doesn't matter who you are. They will like it until they don't. And then, as much as they liked you, they will be that hard against you.
Well, it's interesting. Like, she went on to say, I guess in her statement, Mike, like after you had mentioned this, I kind of looked it up, and she went to say, like, that was not her security guard. So you're telling me like a random security person just came up and yelled at a child for walking by her table? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So...
Which Daily Mail had a story this morning, or put out late last night, and I saw this on Reddit this morning, so that she claimed that, and the Daily Mail says that's a lie, that the security guard is part of her security team, and that security guard had previously worked for Kim Kardashian. Yeah. And this post on Reddit has it's at 1,100 comments now. Yeah. And people just going in, and that's Reddit. On TikTok, all I'm seeing on TikTok are funny videos of people like, hey, here's my story of meeting Chappell Roan. And I saw this one yesterday of a woman she did a sketch at a restaurant. She's like, oh my gosh, is that Chappell Roan over there? And her husband's like, yeah, it is. She's like, I'm just going to go say hi real quick. And then she leaves the camera and comes back, and she has a big black eye, and she's like, Chappell's kind of busy right now.
It's interesting. I mean, I saw a ton, like before you even told me anything about this, Mike, I saw a ton of like similar things and memes on Threads and Instagram. And I just didn't know what it was. I didn't really care to look it up, didn't care enough to look it up, I guess. But I figured there was something, right? And so what's interesting to me is every time something like this happens, to not own it is to double down. And we've talked about this when, with some other things with businesses. When you as a brand, you double down, right, on something that people are clearly perceiving negatively, right? So for better or worse, fine, this was your brand. You set your boundaries. You did whatever the things, right? Like you don't want your fans around you when you're out in public, whatever the thing is. And people know that. But now this happened. And it's being addressed, and the narrative is, wow, like you would do this to a kid? You know, like fine, adults, but like a kid. And so now the perception is changing. So now you're no longer empowered for keeping yourself closed off. Now you're a bitch for doing it to a kid and for having your security yell at a child. Because apparently this kid got yelled at on, you know, on this in this encounter.
Right. And now people are going back through all the previous instances too. And with a new lens and this new view, they're like, yeah, you know what? That is kind of, you're yelling at paparazzi at Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah. So then to double down and say, well, that wasn't my security guard, or this wasn't it. Own it. Like, this is what we tell businesses all the time. If something terrible goes down, own it. People are a lot more likely. Like, I think people would be a lot more likely to give her a pass if she was like, hey, like that, it isn't okay. Right? Like maybe that kid could have been talked to, not yelled at or whatever. But to say that wasn't my security guard, when that is literally your brand, your entire brand, people know this about you, is that you don't want to be approached in public. Right? Yep. This kid wasn't even approaching her. She was just like walking by to see if it was her, I guess, is what I gather. Which an 11-year-old would do. Like 11-year-old would be, you know, maybe a fan excited to see a celebrity,
in a public place.
Right?
It's not like they were backstage at her concert. She didn't get into some security zone.
Right.
She's in a public place.
In a hotel restaurant.
She can walk around by you.
Like
you're not the president.
It's just so freaking weird that like she is almost doubling down. Like it's really taking, I think this is when, you know, we tell businesses like, hold up. Like, what is your plan here? Like, be honest about this wasn't handled well. There would be so much more respect if she just came out and said that wasn't handled well. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry to the girl and whatever, but it's like to double down. You just look like a crazy person. Like, it's not even, at that point, it's not even you setting your boundaries or you being a bitch. You're like, why would you send an adult to yell at an 11-year-old? Like, that is never okay. And so to me, it's just like, well, you're like different level of like not well, you know what I mean? Like, and then that just brings into question, like, yeah, you know, I'm not the person that can separate the art from the artist, by the way. Like, I'm not that person. Once I learn something about somebody and I'm like, oh, like, no, I don't, you know, and I'm not a fan of her to begin with, but I just, for no other reason than just, it's not my music kind of, you know, it's not my genre, things that I listen to, but nothing against her. I don't like actively dislike her. I'm just wondering, like, what do? You know, you are your brand, right? Like, you are your brand. And for people that are building personal brands out there, because we know a ton of people who are building personal brands out there, you are your brand. Actions that you allow to happen around you by people that like are in your business reflect on your personal brand. And that stuff can like make or break you. So if something like this happens, you know, and it happened to her, and it's interesting to think about and talk about with her like celebrity level, right? But like you said, Mike, like you're not a celebrity and you've had to deal with this both in businesses that you consulted or worked for, or on, you know, business that you ran, right? Like that was your own business. You had to deal with a lot of, you know, crazy PR, right? Yep. How do you handle it? This is when businesses start deleting comments on social media posts or turn comments off or, you know, like, no, you need to face this and you need to face it in the right human way. That's at least my take on it, you know? It's like, why not come out and say that wasn't handled properly? Like, that is not my intention, is not to send my security to yell at children. Like, you know, a lot more respect than that wasn't my security guard. That's not the point. Like, this person didn't come up to a child and yell at them and told them to go away if they weren't instructed to do so.
And you know, I hate that whole thing too. Like, so are you a boss bitch?
Right.
I thought you were, right? So you are in charge, or are you not in charge? Were you passive on this one? You weren't in charge of this? The security guard did this on his own? Right. Or are you in charge? I thought you're the boss bitch.
Right. But you are, that's what I'm saying. Like, you are in control of people that represent you, you know?
So this happens to businesses and CEOs and stuff all the time
all the
too,
time.
where, you know, some franchise restaurant, say out somewhere, someone at a restaurant does something stupid, you know, incredibly stupid. And people are like, well, what's the CEO going to do about it? And he's like, I had no idea.
Right.
What, you think we train people to do that? No one's going to care what your logical reasoning is. You're the face of the company.
Right. And you need to handle it as the face of the company. Yep, you have to handle it as the brand that you are. And I think it's a cop-out to say, oh, well, it wasn't me, right? Like it wasn't a person that worked for me. It was a person that worked for the hotel. Well, they were instructed by someone on your team that this is how they need to behave when it comes to you. So to me, like the lack of accountability is such bullshit, to be honest. And like when businesses act that way, it drives me absolutely nuts. And we've seen, I think, over the last couple of years, and maybe since even COVID, things have kind of taken a turn on social media, I feel like. Maybe separate conversation. But a lot of people are engaging in a lot of conversations from their business accounts. And so like from, you know, and they'll get into comment sections and somebody will say something negative about the business, and the response, instead of being like, hey man, like let's kind of figure out how we fix this, right? Or what happened that you have this perception of my brand or my business, people are like doubling down. You know, it's the girl that is like, you know, you pay me, that sent out an email with the Epstein, your name is in the Epstein files in the subject line. And when the influencers that she targets came after her and said, this is really tone deaf, she was like, well, screw you guys. I'm going to send whatever I want. But you depend on these people for your business, right? So if the general statement is negative and it isn't anything that goes against your core values, why can't you be a human? Like, and you should, by the way, as a business, as a personal brand, as, you know, if this ever happens to you, take the narrative in, stop hiding from it, address it, and don't try to deflect or dodge it. Own it. People have so much more respect for somebody that owns it, right? Like, than they do for somebody who is trying to like deflect and be like, well, not me. That's not me, right? Like, you know, it's, for example, like Kevin Hart, I think this was, I don't know how many years back, Mike, when he was asked to host the Oscars, and then people started digging up old tweets and old jokes, right, that people were, you know, were saying were anti-LGBTQ community, right? And he came out and said, those were my jokes. I stand by my jokes, right? Yeah. So I'm not going to, I know I'm not going to host the Oscars. That's fine. I don't want to deal with this, but these were my jokes. By the way, hi, those were jokes from 10 years ago. I don't make those jokes anymore. Yeah. I grew as a person. This is how I see things. I can respect that a lot more than if he came out and said, well, you know, that's funny. I don't know what's wrong with you. Why don't you see humor in that? Right? Like, don't deflect, own it. As a business owner, as a personal brand, I think that's the biggest thing you can do is just own it. We're all human. You know, you're going to mess up. But if the internet takes a hold of you and the narrative goes in the direction that you don't want it to go in, just, you know, I don't know. Like, I would have had so much more respect for her if she just owned it and said, no, that was not the right way to handle a child. But it is what my security is told to do.
And,
you know?
And then who's going to make funny videos then if she's already come out? It's no fun to pick on someone who agrees with you, right? Like
right. But do you want that to be your brand?
It's so hard. I will tell you, if you're a business and having experienced this at me and in places where I was consulting, it's way easier as the person not in the eye of the storm to look at it and say, here's what I think you should do. When I was directly involved and it was me, I screwed up. I know now, looking back, I probably didn't handle, because you're thinking you're still smart and you're no, I'm pretty smart. I think I know what to do here, but you shouldn't. You should talk to somebody not involved and ask them what. Yeah. That's why you get like a crisis manager or stuff like that. You need a disinterested third party to step back and tell you, unless you're just going to, I like you said, you come out and apologize for things, but that sometimes doesn't do it either. And sometimes you're not wrong, depending.
Well, I'm saying, like, it depends on the situation.
It's hard for you to know the right thing. You need to talk to people not not directly involved. Because when it's directly you, man, it's tough to see it. You're in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I can see that. But I think also, like, if you're big enough to have a crisis PR person, then yes, get help,
Sure.
right? Like, get help for that and how to address it. If you're not, if you're a local business who is getting bad reviews, right, because of one interaction that went awry with somebody, right? If you are a personal brand, a coach, a financial advisor, an author, whatever your personal brand may be, and you find yourself in this situation, ask people for help. But also, like, if something, yeah, you're right, Mike. Sometimes you're not wrong, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, if it's a situation that goes against like your core values, address it properly. But if what you did and how you handled something aligns with your core values, then say that too. You know, right. Like you said, like with her, it's like, this has been your whole brand. You're unapproachable, right? You don't want people in your space. You don't want fans to approach you outside of, you know, your shows or your performances or whatever. You stand on business with this, then why go and deflect that was not your security guard? You know,
be transparent.
Be transparent. Yeah.
And keep the receipts then too, you know, like, if you're not wrong, or, you know, there are two sides to stories, so just come out with it and, you know, hey, here's what happened. Yeah. And here's how I saw it. And yeah, look, maybe I didn't handle this right. But here in the moment, this is what I was kind of thinking. Like, and yeah, look, I know no one's going to like this, but also you've not experienced. Right. In one of my previous jobs, I was around a lot of celebrities, a lot. Yeah. And I spent a lot of time with some well-known celebrities away from the spotlight. Like I did a lot of events that involved celebrities, but then I would be at like their houses and stuff, just hanging out. Yeah. And stuff, right? So I've seen a lot of these folks away from the spotlight and stuff. And for the most part, they're pretty normal people. And I have a lot of, you know, I respect it, because then when I've been out in public with some of them too, you see the amount that they get of just people constantly. And you're like, man, this never ends. Huh? Nope. And you know, like I play golf a bunch of times with them, and you're like, man, this just never ends, huh? Is this like, and it's like, 50 years it's been like this. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I could see, like, you're pretty tired of this. You know, I could see it. No, I would never want it. Some celebrity stories someone has when I met someone and he was a jerk, and like, now I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. Like your 10-second interaction with this person at one point, maybe the guy was having a bad day. Like, you know, I don't know. I have a lot more empathy. For celebrities now, and I get it. And not having. I would never want that. Kind of witnessing it. And you're like, no, I would never want that. Like any kind of level of fame. Like just would not want it. I don't. Like, that's why I don't wish that on myself ever. So you want to be so famous like that? Like, no. No, thank you. Yeah, so it's like, but it's such an interesting thing. Like, I think it happens to businesses a lot more than they realize. And it's like that controlled, you know, like, how do you handle that narrative when it takes off online? You know, we've seen it with businesses. We've seen it with local businesses. We've seen it with brands and personalities that we worked with in the past, and how quickly the same people that have built you up can tear you down really freaking quickly, and they will, you know? And so I think it's important that you are authentic and you don't hide from all of it, you know, and you don't deflect, like tell your side of the story, like you said, Mike, and maybe if you are in a position, get somebody else to help you, right? Like, so that you can see a little bit outside of that immediate attack. Because even as people, like, it's hard probably like to not feel personally attacked when something like this happens. And then if you're like a local business, small business, like if something happens, it's a direct attack on you, not just your business, right? Yeah. You know, get some assistance with, you know, the messaging, but also don't hide. Like, my biggest pet peeve is when people turn off comments, when people delete, like, you go on somebody's social post about something, like you go on Wendy's right now on Threads, right? And there's a lot of, like, not to get political, like, there's a lot of conversation like, oh, Wendy's is funny, but like, hey, you donate this much to this party. What do you have to say about that? And the comments are filled with that, and then it's crickets. Right? So like you said, Mike, like, it's only haha funny social media posts.
until you have nothing to say, right? So you have to be prepared for whatever comes your way, and certain things you don't have to address, right? If it's just people trolling, like, you don't have to address it. But I think just hiding or deflecting is not the way to go.
And putting out some statement to, like, you don't want to put out like some generic statement.
No, don't do that.
You put out lawyer statements when you're worried that lawsuits are coming or something, right? But for the most part, that's not happening. People are not getting sued or going to court. You're just getting dragged on social media. So you need to deal with it and address it and be a human.
Yes.
The problem you will run into if it's you and you're the subject of it, though, is you might overreact because you're you're scared because you don't know what's going to happen. You think you're about to lose everything and people are coming after you personally. Like, you're not in the right mindset for it. But that's where, like, you can get some help on what to say or how to say it so that you don't come across as a crazy person.
Yeah. Yeah. Or somebody that, you know, condones
desperately trying,
that, like, you don't actually condone and you don't actually stand for. I don't know, her story.
And it's not like you need a $50,000 PR consultant to fix this. You can talk to just other regular folks, like.
Right.
You know? And maybe not like, you know, not people who don't do business at all, but like you have business friends, like, or people who exist on social media.
Yeah. Talk to those people. Yeah. I mean, because so many of these, I think, like, when you build your personal brand, and I mean, Steven is a perfect example of a diary of a CEO. He's getting dragged a ton lately. You know, so is Mel Robbins, so is Jay Shetty. It's all in how, you know, what do you react to? What do you not react to? Right. And like for Chappell Roan, Roan, she needed to address this, but I think the way she addressed it wasn't the way to go. No. I don't get it. Anytime children are involved, I think you have to really, like, kind of put yourself in a position of an 11-year-old, whether or not they're a celebrity child, right? Like, it's irrelevant. You know, like any mom, like, I would react the same way if somebody came at my kid that way for looking at, like, a celebrity that they like. You know, this child didn't approach, I would feel the same way. And I would probably go to social media too. It's just the society we live in right now, right? This is, you take, you know, you vent on social media. You want to be like, hey, like, this happened to my kid or whatever it is, right? Like, and, you know, and especially when it's celebrity versus celebrity can be messy, you know, like.
Right. And people love that.
It's just, and people love it. People are going to, you know, hype it up, blow it up, like, you know. Yeah.
One of the more, you know, when you don't say something, you know, because people are going to move on quickly too. Last week's episode that we did, we talked about the McDonald's CEO, right?
Right.
If anyone is still here listening to this, what was that happened with the McDonald's CEO? Do you remember still? Okay, it's only been a week. But when was the last post you saw about it? Because everyone's moved on to something else. That was hot for a bit. It was funny to make some content about it. Everyone jumped on that bandwagon. Now they're jumping on the Chappell Roan bandwagon. They'll be on something else.
Yeah.
In a day or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
It just it just depends
on how
you
if you came out early with something, you could take the fire away and then people will move on to the next thing they're mad about.
Right. Yeah. That's very true. Yep.
That's it.
Yeah. I agree. Cool.
All right. That was longer than we thought this would be.
Yeah.
So
thank you for sticking around, Lance.
Yeah, thanks, Lance, if you made it this far. We'll see. I don't know. 35 minutes? Almost?
Yeah, almost. Thank you guys.
That's a big ask. That's a big ask from people.
It's a big ask for you guys. Yeah.
That's a big ask to listen.
But if you are, go check us out at bigbrainstrategy.com. By the way, we're going to start plugging in our agency side.
Oh my gosh, we're so good at sales.
I know. We're learning. Listen, guys, we're learning. So,
yeah.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.